Welcome back students to food hazards, and today we are going to continue with the microbial hazards, and we had spoken about some previous examples. Today we are going to talk about Clostridium botulinum, a foodborne intoxication, which is mainly being caused by the enterotoxins produced by the strains of Clostridium botulinum. This toxin production occurs at a temperature between 25 to 30 degrees centigrade, and it is one of the most lethal poisons known. These are mainly found in the foods associated with anaerobic conditions, such as in the spoiled canned meat or hams, and those which are being found to be more not properly processed. That is where those foods in which anaerobic conditions are being maintained. In such conditions, probably the Clostridium botulinum grows. Clostridium botulinum is a problem in canned foods as well as in raw unprocessed food. And the first method is to preserve the food below 3 degrees centigrade, heavy salting and drying to reduce the water activity, fermentation or the acidification to a pH of 4.6, and proper refrigeration, and the packaging of the fishery products in a permeable film that allows oxygen to prevent the anaerobic growth. So when all these measures are being done, you always try to aim such an anaerobiosis is being created so that we can prevent the growth of Clostridium species. And the toxin which they produce is known as the it would result in the formation of a disease called the botulism. And the detection can be done by various techniques including PCR as well as enzyme-linked immunosorbent assays. Clostridium perfringens, it is GENS, I think you can correct it, perfringens. It causes gastroenteritis, and the client should minimize the amount of food remains in the danger zone of 9. Then, to limit the growth of Clostridium perfringens, you make sure that the stews and the chilies reach an internal temperature of about 145 degrees Fahrenheit during cooking, even if a slow cooker is used, and refrigerate any leftovers as quickly as possible within at least 2 hours. I think you remember the time and the temperature abuse which we had mentioned in the case of Staphylococcus aureus. The similar case, a little more strict condition should be done for the Clostridium perfringens. Coming to Bacillus cereus, they can germinate and grow in the presence of or even in the absence of oxygen. And if allowed to grow, it can produce heat-stable bacillus toxins that cannot be destroyed by routine cooking. And it has mainly been associated with illnesses involving cooked vegetables, meat, rice as well as dairy products. So the toxin which has been found here is being found to be heat-stable. So even by routine cooking, the bacillus toxins are not being lost. So that's something which is being more warning. Now you can have different viral hazards too, like hepatitis A virus, which causes fever and abdominal discomfort followed by jaundice. And of course you remember norovirus, the formerly known called as the Norwalk virus, and it was the most predominant case of viral disease. It causes nausea, vomiting, diarrhea and abdominal pain. Headache as well as low grade fever may also occur. And some control measures for the viruses in seafood should be taken, and the product should be taken from approved sources, and thorough cooking should be done. So what is the thing that you have to maintain here? That is, you should try to take measures in which the viruses are being killed. You should remember the viruses are even little more smaller than that of the bacteria. And so by giving a high proper temperature treatment, like proper cooking, the viruses are all destroyed. So you need to do that. And also when you take seafood, you should take from certain water, sea waters or something, or from areas where such viruses are not that much prevalent, or the recurrent occurrence of such viral diseases are not there. You should take it from approved sources. That's what is more safe. Now come to the parasitic hazards. Of course, you are quite aware of that. There are different types of parasites that we have. We could have roundworms, you could have tapeworms, you could have flukes. These all parasites could infest into the food, Now, in the case of pork, you have the pork tapeworm. That's quite familiar to every one of us. So, parasites are those organisms that always need a host to survive. And thousands of kinds exist worldwide, but only less than 100 types are known to infect people through the food consumption. And usually they enter into the food or into the water, and parasitic worms, as we told earlier, they mainly include the roundworms, tapeworms. Tapeworms includes different tapeworms. Okay, then you have the flukes or the trematodes. You'll be dealing with all these, the more physiology or the more taxonomic as well as the epidemiological significance of parasitamic infections in your coming semesters. Then you have protozoans, which are microscopic single-celled animals. So I'm just coming into some examples of some charts which show the after the microbiological analysis. You can see that E. coli was being found in a seafood, and bivalve mollusk and scallops, etc. And you can see in crustaceans, raw crustaceans, they have done a standard plate count, and the limit of that is 5 into 10 to the power of raised to 5 per gram. That is, beyond that it is not supposed to come. And in the case of coagulase positive staphylococcus, it should be 10 raised to 2 per gram. That is the limit up to which it has to come. Beyond that, it is not supposed to come according to the FDA food standards as per in October 2013. Salmonella is 0 per 25 gram. E. coli is 10 raised to 2 per gram. Okay, and it is, you might think what is the difference between this M and small m and capital M. Small m means the acceptable microbiological levels in a sample unit as specified in the column, that is as per this, and Vibrio cholera should not be present over here. You can remember Salmonella is the most deadly one, and so that's why 0 should be given here. And here these are some chemical hazards as well as the biological hazards which you have which would result, the physical, chemical as well as the biological hazards which could cause the damage of the food quality. So thank you for now, thank you for your patience, and with this we come to an end of the food hazards, chemical, physical as well as the microbiological. Thank you once again.